Today we'll be taking a look at student submissions for the June 2024 Paper 1 Variant 2 exercises 5 and 6. So here are submissions for exercise 5, which is the informal email. And this time I put in the question so that there are no confusions as to what needs to be done. All right, so just taking a look at that again, you recently attended an interesting weekend course for teenagers. Write an email to a friend. Write an email to a friend about the weekend course. In your email, you should give information about the course, explain why you wanted to do the course, and say how the course could be better. So that is the question. 120 to 160 words is the limit. So here we have Afan's response. Right, he has chosen Rohan as his pen pal as always, and it's a good thing, right? If you keep that as something, right, as a standard. So we have 147 words, which is perfect as far as the word count goes. Now let's take a read first, just a read. Hi Rohan, hope you had a great weekend. Sorry for not writing to you for a while. I've been busy with work. I see this is similar or perhaps the same as the last submission from Afan, and right, that's good. So this is something I tell students a bit later on in their preparation, but there are certain things that you can sort of standardize. You can have similar or same kind of openings that work for your writings, and that reduces the thought process of creativity that goes into your opening line. Your opening line is always the same. It fits in with any informal email, and so you don't have to think about what to write as your beginning sentence every time, right? So that's a good thing to do. Now clearly stating, right, what the topic of your email is. I recently attended an interesting weekend course for teenagers and I wanted to share my experience with you. Okay. The course offered a variety of activities, including academics, which focused on exam preparation, martial arts, programming, app development, coding, robotics, and photography. Everyone could pick 2 activities of their choice. Okay. I decided to participate because I wanted to build some new skills in a short period of time. And also because I wanted to learn some basics about photography and robotics. So you here mentioned what you did. Right? So give information of the course, explain why you wanted to do the course, briefly put that in. If I could suggest one improvement, it would be to include a short recap session at the end of each day. Quick summary would help revise what we had learned. Let me know if you would be interested in joining me. Take care. Have fun. Okay. So just take a look at the question again. Now I feel perhaps, right, because the question says an interesting weekend course, and right, so right, it's a weekend course, so right, it's already happened. So perhaps what you could tweak over here is, right, the way you've presented what the course had to offer, and so you could mention that the course was titled as an introduction to extracurricular skills, or introductory skill development workshop. So perhaps you can add that. We do have words, right? We've got 13 words to spare. The course titled, in fact, no, not titled. You can add over here. The skill development 1 over. Right, so I'm putting that in inverted commas because it's the name. So the skill, and it's capitalized because again it's the name of the course, so that's a proper noun. So skill development 101 course offered, right, a variety of activities. I would remove this, including academics. Right, because it's a weekend workshop for teenagers, I think I'll remove this as a whole. Right, I mean, you could include it, but then in that case you would want to reword it. You would go so we could go a variety of activities including martial arts, programming, app development, coding. I don't know if programming and coding are two different things. Robotics, photography, and if you really want to include exam preparation, you could add over here, and even exam preparation strategies, for example. That's just a suggestion, right? It's nothing major. Although I wouldn't include this as a whole because, thinking of it in the term way that it's a weekend course for teenagers, it's something other than your academics, right? So I'm just putting that in there because you did. If you want, you can go with it, or you could remove it. I'd remove it. And so everyone could pick 2 activities of their choice. I decided to participate because I wanted to build some new skills in a short period of time, and also because I can just add the word really over here, and that would, just adding that one word would show enthusiasm and interest. Learn some basics about photography and robotics. So you've chosen 2 very different topics. That's good. They haven't mentioned what was good about it, so I didn't go there either, so that's fine. If I could suggest one improvement, it would be to include a short recap session at the end of each day. A quick summary would help revise what we had learned. Okay, now the only problem I have over here is, right, you're making it sound as if it was a long course. It was a weekend course, so maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days. Maybe just Friday and Saturday, not Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday and not Friday. But maybe just one day. So at most 3 days. This could work for a 3-day course. You could.
So, sir, by the weekend course I meant that it was a repeating course like for like 2-3 weeks
Then,
every weekend.
right. Perhaps you should make that clear because from what I gather from the question, it feels like it's a one-off thing. It just happened one weekend. From what I feel from the question. If you want to say that it's a regular weekend course, then perhaps you can include that somewhere over here. So what we can do is we can remove weekend from here. I recently attended an interesting course for teenagers uh, that takes place right on weekends. And just using that plural means that it's repeating. So it takes place on weekends. And the plural, right, hints towards the repeating nature of it. So that solves that issue. And then if you want, you can specify that it happens Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just 2 days. If you want, you can include that information, right? Or you could keep it open, right, for the reader to interpret. Doesn't make, I mean, adding that information gives more detail to your writing, but without it, it's fine as well. So it's really up to you. Okay, let me know if you, now one thing I find missing over here is the use of contractions, and something that we can try and do next time is perhaps use figurative language. So maybe some idioms, metaphors, maybe if they fit. So what I do over here at least is I change this to a contraction. So you'd be interested in joining me? It would be it'd. It'd be to include, okay. Yeah, I don't think there are any other contractions that we can put in. So again, right, you want to purposely use the parts of the language that are considered as informal language to highlight that you are using informal language. If you write an informal email without those features, it works because in real life it's an informal email. So who's checking? It's between you and your friend. So whatever works for you and your friend. But because in the exam they're testing your skills, your language skills, and so you want to put on a show. That is a fact. Okay. So some minor suggestions, right? Again, overall well written. On its own, it's fine as well. A bit of tweaking, and right, we're done. I mean, suggestions obviously, if you feel they're okay. Yeah, so that's done. I will return this to you. And yeah, now let's take a look at time of submission. And right, first of all, the word count. So 139. Again, that is within the prescribed word limit, so that's good. Hey Aisha, I hope. Let me zoom in. Okay. Hey Aisha, I hope you're doing well. I want to tell you about the weekend course I attended recently, and honestly, it was much better than expected. It was a 2-day workshop for teenagers about teamwork, confidence building, and basic leadership skills. We did group activities, short presentation, and even a fun problem-solving challenge. This is well written. I like this. Right? One thing I'll just include over here again is the vocative comma after hey. It's not a very necessary thing. You probably won't be losing marks over it, but it is like a grammatical detail. And the reason I'm particular about it is because I recently learned about it myself, recently being last year, right? So ever since I came to know that, oh, so there's the vocative comma. And so I've been particular about it as far as my teaching is concerned. Whenever I tell my students, I tell them, no, use it. So just a bit of grammatical detail. Okay, I mainly wanted to join because I've been trying to improve my communication skills and thought this course would help me because more confident, help me become more confident when talking to new people. Plus, it was recommended by my teacher, so I decided to give it a try. The only thing I feel could be improved is the timing. The sessions were a bit too long and we barely got breaks. If they reduced the length or added more short breaks, it would be perfect. Talk soon. I'm okay. This is good. On the face of it, I don't really have any suggestions for this. I like it. So well done, I'm good work. Right, you've covered uh, information of the course, why you want to do it, and say how it's done. You've put it into 3 paragraphs. Uh, yeah, good job. So I will return this to you just with the vocative comment. And the ending over here is it fits an informal email. Right, that's something that you would do with a friend. Okay, returning. Good job. Right now, just looking at this, I can say that you wrote it once and then you went back and tweaked it. Is that true? Right? Or did you do this in one go? Right? Like this is you wrote it this way the first time and that's it. Or did you do a rough draft and then go back and make corrections and then finally come up with this? It took you 3 hours, so yes, definitely. Okay, so it took you 3 hours. So that means you definitely thought about it, wrote it, edited it, improved it. And so right now, that is exactly how you should approach your writing when we're practicing, when we're trying to improve. Right now, with the time you put in, and so you've produced, right, quality work over here. And so, right, with that, your overall skills improve. And so the next time during a test and obviously in your exam, when you have a situation, when you are in that situation that you're pressed for time, you don't have 3 hours because the entire paper is 2 hours. And so by then you would have enough practice that you'd be able to produce a decent piece of writing in one go. Of course, even then, right, you would want to reread and make corrections because there is always the chance that you've made a mistake, right? So editing and revising is always recommended, especially during exams, right? You can still you do that, and if you find that there's been you've made a mistake, then you make your corrections, no issues. Okay, so we are done with exercise 5. Uh, let's take a look at exercise. Okay, what's happening here? Exercise 6. So we have just one submission. Okay. So this is an article. Okay. Your local newspaper has asked readers to send in articles about whether your town is a good place for teenagers to live. You decide to write an article for the newspaper. In your article, write about whether you think your town is a good place for teenagers to live. Given comments, I think the entertainment here is more for adults than us. Everything is so expensive in the town center. There are lots of places for people our age to meet up. Getting from one part of town to another is easy. Okay, so 2 in favor, 2 against. Give an article. Let's see how you did. So we're starting with the word count. And that would include your heading. You remember to include the heading, so that's good. 162, that's fine. We're just 2 words over. It's not an issue. So you've kept it simple. Is our town a good place for teenagers? Right? It will grab a reader's attention, probably. It's not striking, but it's like it's simple, basic, but I guess it works. Okay, now let's read through this. Many people have different opinions about whether our town is a good place for teenagers to live, but I personally think it has both strengths and weaknesses. I would put this as a new paragraph. Okay, so this is your introductory line. Now, one thing I really appreciate is how easy it is to travel from one part of town to another. Buses are frequent and affordable, which makes it simple for teenagers to meet up with friends or get to school on time. There are also several parks, cafes, and sports areas where people our age can hang out safely. So you've included these 2 points that are in favor, and you've added detail to them by talking about public transport and the kind of places they can meet up. So that's good. So you've expanded on that. And so the question says, right, you should use ideas of your own. So the ideas of your own can be other than the two mentioned over here, or they could build upon the two, or both, right? So you've built upon that, so that works. However, you've used a linking device over here to move from the pros to the cons. Some issues definitely need attention. A lot of the entertainment in the town center seems designed for adults, which means teenagers often don't find anything exciting to do. Another problem is the price of everything. Food, cinema tickets, and even basic activities are becoming too expensive for students. Overall, our town is a decent place for teenagers, but with more affordable and teen-focused activities, it could be much better. Again, good, right? I mean, in the moment, I don't have anything to suggest. I mean, if I sit with this, I give it time, I really, you know, juggle with this in my mind, I'd probably find something to change or edit or improve some suggestions. But, the first read through this and I like it. So good work, right? I'm impressed by your improvement, and it clearly shows, right, the time you invested into writing this. You've covered uh, both the for and the against well. You've developed them, and you've given a conclusion. Right? You haven't said you said it's a decent place, so right, it works for teenagers, but it can be improved. Instead of saying that it doesn't work, and we should leave, or it's the best place, and right, so you've taken a rather balanced approach to this thing, and that's also you know, a point to commend. Right, again, I don't have any suggestions at the moment, so yeah, good work. So I will be returning this to you as it is. Okay, so we only had that one submission for uh, from Ima. Just a sec. Okay. Now, that was the target for today, and so we're done.
Sir,
Yes.
I think I I did an assignment where you had to write a review. I don't think it's this one.
Then it must have been one of the previous assignments. I don't remember which one that was. Is it this one? This one's turned in. You've got a review. Yeah, this one's a review. Didn't we already do the review the last time? This is about the magazine that you have to review. Well, if this, like, is this the one you did?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll take a look at this one. Right, it is work. So let's check it. Okay, let me do a word count. So 121, it is just meeting the minimum, the lower end of the word limit. Right, works. Let me just go through the question. You recently bought a copy of a new magazine which is aimed at teenagers. You decide to review the magazine and you will post the review on your school website. Here are some comments about the magazine from your friends. Quite expensive. I prefer longer articles. There are some interesting topics. I love the photos. Write a review. Okay. Now, from the get-go, I would say we could use a better heading, like for reviews. This, right? If you, for example, you're on a website and you're posting your review under an article that is talking about that magazine, then the context is there. But if you're posting this review as your own article on a blog or on a website, and you're just mentioning a magazine, you know, you could perhaps, I'll read through the rest, but you could perhaps give the magazine a name or give some context about what kind of magazine it is that you're reviewing, right? You're not obviously doing something random. So let me just read through this first and then we'll see, right, what we can do with this, or if there is need to do anything at all. So I recently bought a copy of this magazine aimed at teenagers and reviewed it for our school website. Okay. The magazine's layout is clean and engaging with plenty of photos. There are some interesting topics such as what a teen might go through in the academic phase of life and how to overcome issues quickly, speaking in front of an audience, etc. However, there are a few drawbacks. The price is high for the quality, which may discourage readers or those on a low budget. Some of the articles are shorter than expected, where I wanted more depth. Overall, the magazine has potential, especially if the price is reconsidered and content explanation is increased in the future. Okay, so there is some tweaking I would want to do for this. All right, so I just gave the magazine a name, and that helps me with my heading, review of Teen Life magazine. All right, so just that simple change makes my review more focused. Okay, the magazine's layout is clean and engaging with plenty of photos. If you want, you can add an adjective over here. Right? It says, I love the photos. It's not the same thing, obviously, loving a photo and saying the photo is lovely. But, it works. So plenty of lovely photos. So you add an adjective. So, right, that's giving some detail about the kind of photos. And, right, it's also improving the quality of your writing, just adding that adjective. There are some interesting topics such as so perhaps I'll put this in inverted commas. I will remove the and from here because this is right, and usually comes at the end of a list, and this is the second item of your list. So what a teen might go through in the academic phase of life, how to overcome issues quickly, right, speaking in front of an audience, etc. Okay, so you've covered, now they haven't given you any bullet points over here, but you've covered the kind of content. So there are some interesting topics, so that's what you've covered. And another thing over here is, right, so what you've done is that you've taken the theme of that comment, and with the detail you haven't used, I mean, you said that there's some interesting topics, but right, so you've expanded on that, and so those are your own ideas, right? So you've given details, so that's a good thing. However, there are a few drawbacks. Drawbacks. A feature that renders something less acceptable, a disadvantage or problem. Let's see what we can. Uh, Downsides, negative aspect of something otherwise regarded as good or desirable. So I think downside would work better, perhaps. Right? Instead of it being less acceptable, being a disadvantage is something that is sort of a negative aspect of something that is considered good. So we could work with drawback, or perhaps hiccup. Can we use hiccup? A temporary or minor problem or setback? No. So see, you see, even though it's given as a synonym, right? You check the context, and so the context doesn't fit. It's not a setback, right? So I would go with downside. I think that would work better. So right, so when you're using synonyms, always check the context. Do not just pick a word from the list. The price is high for the quality, which may discourage readers or those. If I remove this or those and just put it may, which may discourage readers on a low budget, if I just put in that. Some of the articles are shorter than I'd expected. Where I wanted more depth. Okay, this works. What we could do is, instead of expected over here, in fact, let's leave expected, where I wanted or would have liked more depth. Overall, the magazine has potential, put a comma, especially if the price is reconsidered and the content explanation is increased in the future. So how can we redo that? It doesn't sound quite right. So content explanation is increased. So instead of explanation, right, we could say length of the content, or as you mentioned, depth, detail, perhaps. is increased. We could also say improved. In the future. And so, right, I think we are lingering still at the lower side. Maybe we're at like 130, 35 perhaps. But again, right, so you do not have to definitely reach 160. Since they've given you a range, what you absolutely need to do is be at least 120 words. So we started off at 121. Maybe we're at 130, right? We cut out a few words, we added a few more. So, or maybe we are like 120 something, but still, as long as it's 120 minimum, it works, right? So you won't lose marks for not reaching the higher end of the word limit. As long as you're within the prescribed limit, you're okay. And again, I mentioned if you're below the prescribed limit, then you've written less, and so you lose marks for not having enough content. If you've gone over, then you've written too much, and so the quality of writing might be affected, and so you lose marks because of poor quality possibly, or because of time management you weren't able to attempt the question properly because you spent too much time on another. If that happens, otherwise writing too much on its own, right, going above the upper limit is not going to cause a loss in marks. Of course, how much you go, so 160 euro, 170, 175, maybe 180. You don't want to be writing 250 words. Obviously, that's too much. That's like, right, double the lower limit. So, right, when we talk about, in this case, going over the limit, we're talking about maybe, 10, 15, maybe 20 words max. Not too much. Not doubling it. Okay. Anything you'd like to add, Afan?
No.
Do you think my suggestions work?
Yes.
Okay, so that's good. Right. So again, go back, read this later, do a comparison, and learn. Right. Hopefully, there was something in the learning department over here for improvement. Okay, so I will return that to you, and yeah, we're done for the day. Okay, tomorrow, Afan, is your speaking turn, which is pending since the last speaking you did. So make sure your mic's working tomorrow. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So we've done the writing paper, we've done the reading paper, we have done the listening paper. No, wait, have we done the reading paper? We haven't done the reading paper, right? No, we haven't. But anyway, tomorrow's speaking. So the reading paper can wait.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. So that's all for today. See you guys next time.
Yes.
All right.